Hi, this is PR Frank, and we've been learning how to code in HTML and CSS. Today, we're going to learn about links, and these links can be internal, which go between different documents. They can be external, which go to a different page, and they can link to different places within the same web page. So let's pretend like we want to make a link out of the first phrase in this aside. Let's pretend like lorem ipsum is a place that we want to link to. And I think what we should do is link to the Lipsum website. That'd be great. So here's how we do that. We come in here. Here's our aside. And inside of the p tag for that paragraph, we are going to use the anchor tag. And that's how we make a link. Okay, and it's just A. Okay, it opens and it closes, right? Just like any other tag. We got to take the closing one and we got to put it around the thing that we want to make into a link. So if I just save this and preview it, you'll see that it doesn't do anything. So what we have to do is we have to put some attributes in here to give it some more instructions. So I'm going to first put in an attribute called href. That stands for hyperlink reference. You may recognize that from when we used it up here to link to our style sheet. We had a hyperlink reference. We need to set that equal to wherever we want to go. So right here, we need to make sure that this is, let's say, the website we would like to go to. So I'm going to go to my browser and I'm just going to go to that Lipsum site, right? Just make sure I got the correct URL for that. Once my website loads, I can click in the URL, and URL stands for Uniform Resource Locator. I can copy that. I can come back over to my brackets, and I can just paste that right inside of the quotation marks. All right. Now that's called an absolute reference. You'll see it's got https://www.lipsum.com. And it's going to reference the exact place on the internet that I'm linking to. So let's go see what this looks like. I'm going to save that. I'm going to look at my preview, and you can see now it's got that purple text. Sometimes it's blue. Okay, this indicates we've gone to it before. And if I click it, it goes directly to that website. Now, here's the thing. I don't want to click an external link like this one and go to a whole other website unless I open up a brand new tab. I always want my user to stay within my website unless I have an external link, and then that should open in a new tab. And the way we do that is we add another attribute that's called target. Target equals, and you saw some choices there. Let me bring back those choices. Equals, and now you've got blank parent cell for top. And blank is what we want because that means it's going to open up in a blank tab. Now, depending on what browser you're using, it might also open up a brand new window. In any case, it's not going to stay within the same site, and that's the point. So I click that, I save it, and now if I go back over to my live preview and click, you can see now it opens in a brand new tab, and I can always get back to my other website by clicking back or closing out of the tab that it opened. All right, great. External link. Now let's do some internal links. So at the top of here in my navigation bar, I've got home, work, and about. Okay, those are the three pages that this site will eventually be. So right now I'm going to code some things that won't go anywhere, but I'll show you how it works. And then later on, we'll actually make those pages. So right here, we're going to put the anchor tag around the word home. So now those are three links, but they don't go anywhere. I have to put my attributes in. So the href for this is going to be set equal to the name of that page. And of course, in my website, I already have the name of that page. The home page is going to be my index, so it'll link back to itself. When I do the same thing for work, href equals, it's still I only have the index page, but eventually that page is going to be called work.html. And I got to make sure that that's in quotation marks. It didn't automatically add my quotation marks. And for the about page, my href is going to be equal to a page that I will eventually create called about.html. So those are the 3 links I've got. To make it easier, what I can do is put these on different lines. So I've got my nav, and it wraps around these 3 links with these pipes in between. Now, just because I put them on different lines, they're not going to appear on different lines in my document, as you can see. But they all look like links now, which is great. All right. So the next thing to do is to go ahead and make sure that all of my pages have these 3 links. You'll notice at the top of my page here, the title of this page is called tutorial. And I think what I'll do is I'm going to end up calling this tutorial home. And then as I save this as other pages, it'll be called tutorial home, tutorial work, and tutorial about. So here we go. File, save as, and in the same folder, 3-page site, I'm going to change this to work.html. And before I save it, I want to change this word home to work, and that way I'll know. I also might put it in my header just so I can tell that this is definitely a different page. Now I'll save that, and then I'm going to save as. The difference between save and save as is if you want to change the name or the location of your file. In this case, I want to save as because now I want to make a 3rd page. You can see my work page is already separate from my index. I want to make a 3rd page called about.html. And before I save that, I want to change tutorial work to tutorial about, and I want to change work in my header heading to about. And that way I can see as the page changes that it's a different page. Now I save that. If I go to live preview and I click on these different things, you'll notice now what it's doing. It's changing to those different pages. You can tell it from my tab, and you can tell it from the word that's in my header. So that's great. I've got 3 different pages. Now we have to follow the standard convention for including a navigation bar with links. And probably the best way to do this is to go to W3 Schools and look at it, because it can be very tricky. It's done with CSS, and it's done with an unordered list, and an unordered list that's styled in a certain way. And I'm just going to type in navigation bar. And on the W3 Schools navigation bar page, they give you vertical, horizontal examples. And if you scroll the page, you'll see all sorts of examples of that. So as you'll see, what they do is they organize it into an unordered list with a list item for each menu item. We also can continue with that. If we go to the next page, this is how we do a vertical one. If we continue, we're looking for the horizontal one. We want to create something much like this, okay? And we can just borrow this code and then change it to however we like, okay? But this will give the idea of what you're supposed to do. So we have to target the unordered list. We have to target the list items. We have to target the anchor inside of each list item. That's what this li space a means. It's any anchor that's inside of a list item needs to look like this. Okay, and this will change it when you hover it. So actually, we're going to take all this code right now and use it in our CSS, and it'll transform it. So let me copy this CSS, and we can use it. So I'm going to copy. I'm going to go back over to my brackets, and I'm going to open that CSS file that we have here in our 3-page site. And here at the bottom, I'm just going to paste that in there. Now, it's not perfect yet, but this is kind of what we need, and I'll show you how we're going to change it in just a minute and why we need to change it that way. So that's our styles. I'm going to save that. Come back to our index. Let's just do this to our index page. So I'm going to go to File, Open, and go back and find our index page. So now that we have our index page, we can make this into an unordered list inside of our nav. So we do the UL, give ourselves some space. All these anchor tags get inside of there. I'm going to highlight all of those and tab them over just a little bit too. All right. Now, Inside of the unordered list, of course, each one of these needs to be a list item. So li, li, and make sure we close that li at the end of each line. Being careful not to close it within that vertical bar. And actually, I don't need the vertical bar because it'll be separated by the styles we use. So what I'll do is I'll just get rid of our vertical bars now. One more list item. Okay. So now we have a nav with an unordered list inside of it with list items inside of that. And each list item has an anchor in it that refers to each of our 3 pages on this website, this 3-page website. All right. So once we have that and we have some CSS, it'll start to look like it's supposed to. Let's go check it out. See that? And I can hover those. All right. Well, here's the problem that we're facing now. And you can't tell because we don't have any unordered lists that we're using on our website. But let's say that here in our article section, we have an unordered list. Let's make an unordered list down there just to show you the problem. And if you know anything about code, you might be able to predict what the problem is going to be. Let's pretend within this paragraph that we have an unordered list. Okay, and there's some commas and stuff in here. I think that's going to work really well. There's the closing part of our unordered list. And each one of these things is going to be a list item. Our closing p tag there. Opening p tag here. Okay. It likes that better. So now that I have an unordered list within this paragraph, within these paragraphs here, watch what happens. You see that? It takes on the style of the menu that we created. Because if you look in our style sheet, it just says, hey, if you see an unordered list, do this stuff. So what we actually need to do is adapt this a little bit. What we need to do is we need to say, hey, if there's a nav with a UL inside of it, this is how you say that. If you have a nav space with a UL inside of it, then do this stuff. We also need to say, hey, if you have a nav with a UL with an LI inside of it, then do this. And if you have a nav with a UL with an LI and an A inside of that, do all this. So it gets a little bit complicated once you start putting menus in, but you really need to target the correct parts of your document. Otherwise, every anchor is going to get this applied to it. But we only want the anchor inside of a list item, inside of a UL, inside of a nav to get that applied. Okay, and here's one more. We need a nav, UL, LI, A, hover. And this hover, this is called a pseudo class. And you'll see it's like it's kind of saying, hey, anytime that you hover an anchor, do this. So it'll change to this 111 instead of the color of 333, which it was. Okay, so I'm going to save that now. Our unordered list is no longer affected by the styles that we applied to the UL for our menu system. So that's a tricky part to get, but make sure you understand that moving forward so that you can successfully make a navigation bar and keep that separate from any other unordered lists that you have included in your document. Let's see if that works. Uh-oh, it doesn't work. Well, the reason it doesn't work is because on our work page and on our about page, we never put all of the list items and an unordered list around it. It's a really easy solution though. We took a lot of time to build this menu. All we have to do is copy that code. And actually I'm going to copy it from the beginning here so it lays out nicely. So I'm going to just copy this and I'm going to go to my about document and I'm just going to paste over. All I got to do is select everything. Select all that stuff and paste over it. And I got to do it one more time for my work page. Because that's the nice thing. Once you have something that works on one page that you want to work throughout your site, just copy and pasting it. Okay. So now let's navigate our site. We've got work, about, home, and you can see it's doing a really nice job of giving us some good feedback when we hover, making it feel like a menu, and navigating to those different sites or to those different pages, navigating to the different pages of our site. Okay, so today we've covered how to make links that are external and how to make internal links that link to pages within our website, particularly making links that link between the different pages in a navigation bar formatted with an unordered list, which is standard practice. In future videos, I can show you how to make image links and links within the same document. But for now, I think that's good enough. It should get you a good start for making links. Have a good day.